In the shadowy underbelly of Chicago, where ambition and desperation collide, a legend was born, not of a hero, but of a ghost. They called him the Cartel Ghost, a drug baron whose empire was built on whispers and fear. He was untouchable, invisible, a phantom pulling the strings of a multi-million-dollar narcotics operation that had the city in its grip. His real name was a closely guarded secret, his face a mystery. To the Chicago Police Department, he was more myth than man, a spectral figure leaving a trail of chaos but never a fingerprint. But one detective, a man with a reputation for being fearless, maybe even reckless, decided to chase this ghost. His name was Detective Miles Corrigan, and he believed no man was truly invisible. Corrigan was old school, a cop who trusted his gut over gadgets and believed that justice wasn't found in a file, but on the streets. He saw the poison the cartel ghost was pumping into his city, and he took it personally. While his superiors preached caution, Corrigan devised a plan so audacious it bordered on insane. He wouldn't just investigate the syndicate from the outside. He would become a part of it. He would go undercover, deeper than any officer had dared to go before. He spent months creating a believable alias, a hardened criminal with a history just plausible enough to gain entry into the lower rungs of the organization. He shed his life as a cop, a husband, and a father, stepping into a world of brutal violence and unspoken rules. His only lifeline was a series of coded check-ins with his handler, cryptic messages that were his only proof that Detective Miles Corrigan still existed. For a while, the plan worked. Corrigan successfully infiltrated the crew, moving small packages, proving his loyalty, and slowly, painstakingly, climbing the ladder. He was getting closer, feeding the department invaluable intel about drop points, key players, and the syndicate structure. He spoke of the ghost in his reports, a figure who was never seen, but whose presence was felt in every transaction, in every act of violence. The ghost was the puppeteer, and everyone else was just a marionette. Then, one cold October night, the check-in stopped. Silence. One day of silence turned into a week into a month. Corrigan's handler grew frantic. Search parties were quietly organized, informants squeezed, but it was as if Miles Corrigan had vanished from the face of the earth. The department was in a quiet panic. An officer disappearing was a nightmare, but an undercover officer disappearing inside the city's most dangerous cartel was a catastrophe. The cartel ghost had swallowed him whole. The winter that followed was one of the coldest in Chicago's history, and the case grew just as cold. Hope dwindled, replaced by a grim acceptance. Corrigan was gone. The ghost had won. His syndicate seemed more powerful than ever, operating with an impunity that mocked the police force that had tried to challenge it. The official investigation stalled, buried under new cases and the department's reluctance to admit its devastating failure. But Corrigan's friends and family never gave up hope, lighting candles and holding vigils, praying for a miracle. For months later, the miracle came, but it was wrapped in a horror story. A call came in from a self-storage facility on the industrial outskirts of the city. The owner was reporting a strange odor and an unpaid bill on a unit rented under a fake name. When officers pried open the frozen metal door, the blast of frigid air carried a scent of decay that hit them like a physical blow. Inside, amidst a few dusty boxes, was a large, industrial-grade freezer, padlocked and sealed with duct tape. When they cut it open, they found him. Detective Miles Corrigan. His body was perfectly preserved by the cold, a frozen effigy of the man he once was. But the discovery was more than just a tragic end to a missing persons case. Tucked into the pocket of Corrigan's jacket was a small, encrypted memory card. And etched into the frost on the freezer's inner lid were a series of numbers and symbols, a message left in the ice. The crime scene was a chilling tableau, a deliberate and taunting display. This wasn't just a murder, it was a statement. The discovery of Corrigan's body sent a shockwave through the city. It was a declaration of war. The cartel ghost was no longer a myth. He was a monster, and he had just shown the world what he did to heroes. The memory card and the cryptic symbols became the singular focus of a task force of unprecedented scale. The city's best cryptographers, detectives, and federal agents were assembled, working around the clock to decipher the ghost's message. They realized the symbols weren't just random. They were part of a complex cipher, a code the kingpin used to run his entire operation. Corrigan hadn't just been found. He had delivered his final piece of evidence from beyond the grave. The encrypted card, when finally unlocked, contained a treasure trove of information: names, bank accounts, and supply routes. It was the entire blueprint of the Ghost's empire. Corrigan had succeeded, but at the ultimate cost. He had mapped out the enemy's fortress from the inside. The information was explosive. The coded messages from the freezer lid, cross-referenced with the data on the memory card, painted a picture of a conspiracy that reached into the highest echelons of the city's business and political spheres. The cartel ghost wasn't just a drug lord. He was a master of corruption, with influential people on his payroll. What followed was the biggest, most aggressive police operation in the history of the Midwest. It was a full-scale war on a criminal empire. Raids were conducted simultaneously across the city and its suburbs. Dozens of high-level dealers, enforcers, and money launderers were arrested in a single, coordinated sweep. The syndicate, which had seemed so invincible, began to crumble from the inside out as arrested members, facing life sentences, began to talk, each one hoping to be the first to give up the ghost. The phantom was finally being cornered. The net tightened. Following a trail of digital breadcrumbs and human confessions, the task force finally identified their man. He wasn't a shadowy figure lurking in the alleys. He was a prominent, charismatic businessman, a philanthropist who was a regular on the city's high society circuit. He hid in plain sight, his public persona the perfect cover for the ruthless puppeteer who controlled the city's drug trade. His name was Julian Croft, and he was the cartel ghost. The final confrontation wasn't a hail of gunfire, but a quiet arrest in a penthouse suite overlooking the city he had held hostage. When they came for him, Croft showed no emotion, his mask of calm composure only cracking for a moment when the lead detective told him, "This is for Miles Corrigan." The evidence was overwhelming. The memory card, the financial records, the testimony of his own people, it all pointed to him. Croft's trial was the biggest media event of the decade, a spectacle that laid bare the city's secret sickness. He was convicted on all counts and sentenced to multiple life sentences in a supermax prison, destined to become a ghost of a different kind, a forgotten name in a concrete tomb. Detective Miles Corrigan was buried with full honors, a hero who gave his life to save his city. His name was etched onto the wall of fallen officers, a permanent reminder of his sacrifice. The cartel ghost's empire was dismantled, his network of corruption exposed and purged. But the story serves as a chilling reminder that the battle between order and chaos is never truly over. The ghosts of the underworld are always there, waiting in the shadows for their chance to rise. The legend of the cartel ghost of Chicago is a testament to the darkness that can hide in plain sight, and to the extraordinary courage of those who are willing to walk into that darkness to bring back the light. Thank you for watching. If you found this story compelling, please like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the cases that history will never forget. Stay safe out there.